Welcome again to the podcast. In this episode, we discuss about the psychology of overthinking, what's really going on, and how to overcome it. So let's begin. There's this strange thing about silence. When the world slows down, even just a little, the mind speeds up. The noise that lives inside us starts to grow louder. Not chaotic, not dramatic, just persistent. A low hum that refuses to leave, like a song on repeat, or a voice you can't quite turn off. It starts with something small, a conversation that didn't end the way you expected, a decision that still feels unsettled, a message you sent, or didn't send. And then, without realizing it, you're already lost in a maze, going over what happened, what could have happened, what should have happened. Overthinking rarely knocks on the door. It slips in quietly. It pretends to be useful. It convinces you that the more you think, the more in control you'll be. But somewhere along the way, it stops being helpful and starts becoming a burden. There's an ancient Stoic idea that says, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Seneca wrote that in the 1st century, and yet it describes the inner lives of most people today. Because that's what overthinking really is. It's suffering in advance. It's imagining every possible outcome, especially the bad ones, and living them all before they've even happened. You think you're preparing, but you're just rehearsing pain. And here's the thing. The mind doesn't really distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. So if you play a scenario enough times in your head, your body starts to react as if it's actually happening. Tension builds, chest tightens, thoughts spiral. It feels like you're under threat, even when you're just lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. We call it overthinking. But sometimes it's just fear wearing a different outfit. Fear of the unknown, fear of rejection, fear of getting it wrong. And in that fear, the mind starts filling in the blanks, creating meaning where there might be none, reading between lines that don't exist. Maybe they're upset with me. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe I missed my chance. This tendency to complete incomplete stories, it's deeply human. We crave closure. Our brains are hardwired to make patterns, find answers, resolve tension. But not everything in life is designed to be resolved immediately. Some things are meant to unfold, slowly, unevenly, and sometimes without explanation. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, "You have a right to perform your duty, but not to the fruits of your actions." What if overthinking is our desperate attempt to control those fruits? To control how we'll be perceived, how things will turn out, what the consequences will be. We think if we analyze enough, we'll predict the future. We'll avoid mistakes. We'll avoid regret. But life doesn't work that way. And deep down, we know that. So the more we try to grip tighter, the more we end up spiraling. Overthinking isn't just about big things. Sometimes it's small, petty even. A moment of awkwardness, an emoji misread, a tone of voice. And it grows. Not because it matters that much, but because it taps into something deeper. A feeling of not being good enough. A fear of being misunderstood. A need to be seen, to be safe, to be certain. And when those deeper needs go unmet, even the smallest things can echo loudly. That's the thing with overthinking. It's rarely about what it seems to be about. Buddhist thought often speaks of the monkey mind, the restless, jumping chatter that moves from thought to thought. It warns us of attachment, not just to people or things, but to our own thoughts. Because once you start attaching to every passing thought, you begin believing them. And not every thought deserves that kind of power. But detachment doesn't mean disconnection. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about recognizing that your thoughts are not facts. They're not prophecies. They're just thoughts. Some are echoes, some are noise, some are fear in disguise. The real question isn't, how do I stop overthinking? It's, why do I feel safer inside these loops than I do outside of them? Overthinking, in many ways, is an attempt to delay feeling. If I keep analyzing this, maybe I won't have to sit with the discomfort. If I stay in my head, I won't have to feel what's happening in my chest. But feelings are patient. They wait. And eventually, they demand attention. You can think your way around them for a while, but eventually, the only way out is through. In Taoist philosophy, there's the idea of Wu Wei, effortless action. Not inaction, but aligned action. Doing without forcing. Moving without overanalyzing. It suggests that sometimes clarity comes not by thinking harder, but by stopping the effort to control. By allowing things to unfold. By trusting that the current will take you somewhere, even if you don't know where that is. That's hard, especially in a world that rewards certainty, speed, and productivity. But maybe that's why overthinking has become so common. Because silence now feels unnatural. Because uncertainty feels like failure. Because we've been taught that figuring it out is the same as doing it right. But what if we looked at it differently? What if a lack of clarity isn't a crisis, but a crossroads? What if this spiral you're in isn't proof of weakness, but just a sign you're standing on the edge of something new? You're not stuck. You're processing. You're not broken. You're unfolding. The mind just doesn't always know how to narrate that. Overthinking won't vanish overnight, and maybe it's not supposed to, but you can learn to recognize its voice, to notice when you've drifted into a loop, to gently say, "This again," without judgment, without panic, just noticing. And then, maybe, just maybe, you let the thought pass, like a cloud, like a train you chose not to board. And in that small moment, you're no longer lost in the maze. You're just standing at the entrance, watching it from a distance, not trying to fix, not trying to solve, just being. Because some of the most profound moments in life aren't the ones where we figured it all out. They're the ones where we stopped needing to. And in that stillness, there's something softer than certainty, something quieter than clarity, a kind of peace that doesn't come from thinking more, but from finally, gently, letting go. Until we meet again.